It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you.
Welcome into the Sports Blitz on a Wednesday. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Maddie Lassiter in the Cogswell Motors studios. Got a big show for you today. Lots of stuff to talk about. Centers around the NBA free agent craziness that's going on right now. The Cleveland Cavaliers clearing some cap space, and it's getting real. The LeBron back to Cleveland talk is getting real. The chatter is getting hotter, and LeBron is going to meet with Pat Riley and Dwayne Wade today in Las Vegas. They're going to talk it out, going to decide what's going to happen. There are so many different dominoes, Weldon, that are going to be falling over pretty quickly. You're going to have LeBron James. You're going to have Carmelo Anthony, Chris Bosh. Don't know who's going to be the first one. I have a big inkling to say it's going to be LeBron James, obviously, that decides one way or the other. But so many different scenarios of things that could happen. Interested to find out where these guys are going to go.
Well, these things have to be coordinated. I think that's the one part of the equation that you have to understand is that these players aren't going to just jump into situations without any knowledge. So all these players are talking to one another, working out the best scenarios with each other and with their respective clubs. So Carmelo is obviously talking to LeBron, but he's also talking with the Knicks and making sure, things are coordinated. We talked before the show about LeBron possibly going to Cleveland. It would be a great situation if they had Kevin Love. Well, obviously, Kevin Love's not going without LeBron James. So these things have to be coordinated behind the scenes, obviously. And, there has to be some trust. There has to be people on the same page. With LeBron meeting with Pat Riley today, I'm inclined to believe that is okay, where are we at type deal. I don't think this is a pitch. I don't think it's going to be one of those get the presentation board out, here's what we got. I think Pat Riley and LeBron have been, maybe not hand in hand, but they've been aware of what each other's doing throughout a lot of the process. I don't think Josh McRoberts and Danny Granger was a huge surprise to LeBron James. I think he's been in the loop. I just think they're going to get together today and say, okay, LeBron, you've been out hearing things from your agent and other teams. Where are you at right now? Here's where we're at. Are we still on the same page? Okay, let's make this thing happen. If not, then, good luck to you wherever you go on your new team. So for me, I would like to see this get done as soon as possible with all these players because I think everybody wants to be in a championship situation. I know we talked about Carmelo wanting to make his money, and sure, if he can make money and get with LeBron in a good situation, he'd obviously want to do that as well. But the thing is, the Josh McRoberts, the Danny Grangers of the world, those guys are going to start drying up. The Luol Dengs, the Kyle Lowrys, the Marcin Gortats, those are guys who Miami had talked to and other teams had talked to, but they just didn't know what to tell them. And so you lost the top tier of role players. Now you're into that next tier. At some point, these guys are going to have to make a decision because when they go somewhere, they're going to need other pieces. And you don't want all those other pieces dried up to go to other places. So I'll look for something to get done relatively soon.
No, there's going to be some decisions made. I did see, it was either ESPN or Yahoo guy tweet this morning that Miami had no idea coming into this offseason that they were going to have to make a pitch. And they hadn't planned on making the same sort of pitch that they made in 2010 to get LeBron and to get Chris Bosh. They're going to have to make some sort of pitch. It's going to have to be, okay, Dwayne's going to take a pay cut. Chris Bosh is waiting on you, LeBron. This is what we've done. We've put Danny Granger a 2-year with the second year's player option and Josh McRoberts together as backups because LeBron said after the postseason, he said, look, we need to improve at every position. So they go out and they try to get a guy in Danny Granger who can back him up, a guy in Josh McRoberts who I think they overpay $6 million a year for a guy that averages 5 points and 4 rebounds is not something that I would have done, but this is the world we live in now. You have to pay to get the guys to show up, but they put some guys together around LeBron James, and now it comes down to a couple of different factors. One, how much does the weight of home attract LeBron James? How much does the talent on the roster, which we heard was the only deciding factor, the only determining factor for LeBron coming into this postseason, where he was going to go next year, coming into this offseason, where he was going to go next year, was going to be all about the talent on the roster. Well, if you can talk, if I'm LeBron James, and apparently he hasn't been talking to these people by himself, he's had his agent talk to him, and he hasn't even been there. Well, this is going to be, I guess, his first real contact face-to-face with an organization. It's going to be the Miami Heat, which, he's a member of the Miami Heat, and he sort of owes them that. But I would be interested to see if LeBron James doesn't pick up a phone and call somebody like Kevin Love and say, look, I don't know what Cleveland could do to get you, what Minnesota's going to ask to get you, but they've got at least 2 first-round picks left if they just traded one this morning, getting rid of Jarrett Jack and dumping some salary. If they could get you for a couple pieces, a couple draft picks, and or Andrew Wiggins, would you be interested in coming to Cleveland? To which Kevin Love would run directly from the phone call to Cleveland to be a part of that deal and play with LeBron. Then you've got Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, and Kevin Love, and I know that's a long way off, and that's not even I don't even think that's on the radar right now, but I did hear Chris Broussard say it. I did hear Chris Broussard say it yesterday, but you've got to weigh these things if you're LeBron James. So we've asked today's CrossFit Russellville poll question. What would you think of LeBron James if he were to return to Cleveland? I'm already getting crap on Twitter from friends. Brad and Jason are giving me crap because, look, for 10 years I've been a LeBron James fan. I didn't care about Cleveland. The only thing I remembered about the Cleveland Cavaliers growing up was Elo getting that shot in his eye from Jordan. That's all I remember growing up. Brad Doherty, look him up. I just remembered a couple things about Cleveland growing up.
Right.
And so I wasn't a Cleveland fan. I was a LeBron James fan when he came into out of high school, into the pros. I became a LeBron James fan, have been that ever since. He's now in Miami. I watch him and root for him there. If he goes to Cleveland, I've already talked about this. I'm going to have a hard time with it because I am just that much against Dan Gilbert. Can't stand him. It'd be even worse if he went to Los Angeles because I hate Kobe Bryant.
Well, that we can get to that a little bit later, but that is an interesting point of view. I want to get to our poll question, but when you look at this Miami situation, how ultimately it could resolve itself, I really think the key factor is Chris Bosh. If we believe what we hear, he has a max opportunity from the Houston Rockets, roughly $90-something million, $96 million on the table. I think you and I agree, if that is the case, he should take it. And I think Miami, look, if you're Miami right now, you're in a position to where you got to make some type of move. You can't come back with the big 3 of last year and get McRoberts and once Danny Granger and just say, okay, San Antonio, here we come. It's not going to work that way. And I don't think Pat Riley believes it's going to work that way. So you're looking at a situation in which Chris Bosh, go make your money, and then they start talking to Carmelo Anthony. I really think that's what they would like to do in their heart of hearts. I believe that's what LeBron would like to do. I think he would like to get Dwayne Wade with Carmelo Anthony to get on the same team. Now, there are reasons why that would be good and bad from a basketball standpoint. Defensively, you better get a Tyson Chandler-like anchor back there. I think offensively, it would be a nightmarish scenario for the team. I think LeBron and Carmelo on offense is ridiculous. Defensively would be my issue. But what we think about is irrelevant. I believe LeBron James, I believe Pat Riley is trying to angle his way to shoo on Bosh, get Carmelo Anthony in place. Now, again, how we feel about it is one thing, but what they feel about it is what counts.
Chris Bosh or Carmelo Anthony? If that's the conversation, which one do you rather have? Give me Chris Bosh. That's just me. I've heard a lot of people talking trash about Chris Bosh over the last couple of years. I believe he's in a position right now where he's getting a max. Just think about what you would do if you were in his position. You're sitting at a place where they don't value you. They value you enough that they say, we'd like for you to come and take a huge, we'd like for you to stay and take a pay cut in half. Versus a school, another place, say just at your job, another place comes and says, you know what, we value you enough that we want to give you a raise. We want to give you the absolute max we can pay you, and we want to put you in a position to succeed. We don't want to tolerate you. We want to celebrate you. I think it'd be a hard decision for me. It would be very hard for me. I know that LeBron James is an all-time great player. He's a player that anybody would love to play with, but to go to my home state. If Little Rock had a team and I could go play in Little Rock, stay in my home state and play for that team, make more money, be not tolerated but celebrated, like I said, rather than we'll just put you over here and you do this instead. They're going to accentuate what I'm good at. It'd be very hard for me not to take that money and go.
And I think it's a better basketball fit. Look, they went to 4 straight finals. They lost 2 of them. There were many ups and downs with this Miami unit, although overall it was successful. Look, Chris Bosh, you go to Houston. Obviously, you're making max money. You're back at the power forward position. You're not guarding the Roy Hibberts of the world on a nightly basis, these 7-foot lumbering bigs, which is what you have to do on the Miami Heat. You get to look more like you looked in Toronto. I mean, look, Chris Bosh, we can go back and forth on what kind of player he is. I think he's pretty good. I don't think he's great. I think, if you want to look at what he did in Toronto, I would look at, okay, but what did they do? Can he be a great player on a great team? No, I don't. I think he's a role-ish type player on a really good team. But nonetheless, in Houston, what's he going to be? You got Dwight. You got James Harden. He can go in and fit just like he did in Toronto, except have better players around him. If I'm Chris Bosh, it's a no-brainer. I'm a Houston Rocket. Give me my red and white uniform now. I'm a Houston Rocket.
Like I said, hey, we'll see. We'll see how this all turns out. Now the Cleveland Cavaliers, they traded Jarrett Jack. They freed up $22 million in cap room. They got rid of a number 1 draft pick for next year, so I think they've got 2 left, if I'm not mistaken. And they've got Anthony Bennett, last year's number 1, and they've got Andrew Wiggins, this year's number 1, and they've got Kyrie at a max deal, and all the money that they need to go after LeBron James. They're going after Ray Allen as well. Ray Allen's made it clear he wants to play with LeBron James next year. It doesn't matter if he's playing for the Monstars. He wants to play with LeBron James next year, so that'll be an interesting piece of the puzzle, a little bit lesser piece, but I made my point on Monday that Carmelo Anthony is going to play with the Knicks because he's not going to pass up $30 million. He's going to buy into the Phil Jackson system. And, I read something yesterday that Derek Fisher talked about how the team's going to be better next year. They got rid of Raymond Felton, who I think is a terrible player anyway. But I also think
he's an elite point guard.
Like he ever was.
Yeah, like he ever still.
Like when were you an elite point guard? And then, Derek Fisher talking about how they're going to be better. They're making that pitch to Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo really doesn't have he doesn't have any great options. Miami would be a decent 4th one.
Yeah.
He's got New York, 5 years and $120 million. Make $20 million plus a year, or go to Chicago and have to play defense. He didn't want to do that. Go to L.A. and play with Kobe. Who wants to do that? And then wait for LeBron. And if Miami were to say, all right, Chris, that's a really good offer and we can't match it. So just good luck. Let Chris Bosh go. Carmelo takes his place. He'd have to take a big pay cut.
Yeah.
Don't see how it's going to work, but
I think that's what Miami wants. I think essentially they want to trade Chris Bosh for Carmelo. The worst scenario would be you don't get either one of them, because then if you're LeBron, you can't come back.
No.
Obviously LeBron's free. Then you got Dwayne Wade, Danny Granger, and Josh McRoberts go win you a championship. So I think Miami, it's the Bosh Carmelo thing. It's really going to be dicey if they strike out on both of them. It's going to be a tough deal for them.
All right, hopefully we can break some news here today. Who knows? We'll follow the Twitter wire and the ESPN.com front page just to make sure. And actually, I guess I'll check Yahoo because Adrian Wojnarowski is the best. Of all the guys that I've seen, Adrian Wojnarowski is probably the best. And I guess I like Haberstroh, but he's for analytics. I like Brian Windhorst. He's pretty good for ESPN. But I'll follow some of these folks, and we'll pay attention to that and see what happens with the free agency.
Speaking of that field, what happened to Rick Bucher? He used to be like Mr. Big Time. Now he's like a third-tier star. I mean, he used to be that, back in the 2010. He was one of the heavy hitters with Bruce Sard and Mark Stein, but now he's
an NBA insider for Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area.
Oh, well, hey, that'll knock you down, because
what happened? Yeah, what did
he used to
happen?
be a superstar,
he left in October of 2012.
Met him in Vegas too, by the way.
Really?
Nice guy. Yeah.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
I'd be pretty nice too if I had a job with ESPN. I just do my thing. That would be pretty cool. Although you could never sleep.
That's right.
All right, let's hit a break. We're gonna have Charlie in here from Plumerville Super Speedway here in a minute. Did you see that Germany beat Brazil 7-1 yesterday in the World Cup?
Ugly.
Hey, my champ's looking pretty good, and Weldon's got a chance to get his champ in the finals, and we'll face off with one another, just like we knew was gonna happen.
Experts.
Our bachelor's GED. We'll see which one wins out. We'll be back right after the break.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Welcome back to the Sports Blitz, second segment here on a Wednesday. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Maddie Lassiter, and our engineer/intern Dave Brown over here in the Cogswell Motors studios, joined by Charlie Bowden from the Plumerville Super Speedway. What's that? San Diego Superchargers. That was what I was.
Yeah, the song. Yeah,
I'm sorry, that was bad. Welcome in today, Charlie. How's it going, man?
Well, I'm following LeBron James. What?
You can't.
How am I going
really
to top that, man?
Well, that's us saying you're
All
just
right.
close to the best.
I like it. Hey, nonetheless, Plumerville Super Speedway every Saturday night, ladies and gentlemen, 7:30. We are right down the interstate, just 25 miles east of Russellville, 25 minutes at exit 112. Come on down to Plumerville and get your thrill at the Ville. Stock car racing.
Nice.
Nice promo. Nice promo.
Well, let us know a little bit about what's been going on over there. We've talked with you the last. I guess we missed last week.
It's
but
been
the week
2 or
before.
3 weeks. I've been on the road. I hadn't been in much. Lots of good stock car racing, man. We got good points races. We got a little bit of controversy going on at times. Of course, that's racing. Hey, we got a lot of events. July is stacked. We got big races the next 3 weekends. This weekend coming up, the Southern Outlaw Late Model Series returns. Late models at our bull ring is always a good thing, man. It's impressive to watch those 800 horsepower cars maneuver around there. And also we got the 600 wing sprints, and then our regular classes, factory, hobby, E-mod, and wide open modifieds, all at one time. That's
Oh,
a lot.
wow.
You're gonna get, if you come Saturday night, you're gonna get your money's worth. You're gonna see so much racing, it's gonna make you stupid.
Well, Charlie, tell us a little bit about each type of racing, because not everybody's a race fan.
Okay.
But there's the different cars obviously
You
yield to
bet.
different types of racing. Some more open style racing. It's more about speed and moves, and sometimes it gets more contact. You got a bump and duck type move. So, talk about the different series and how it yields to different types of racing.
Well, just like We'll start off with the very basic. Our factory stock class every week, one of our biggest classes, and we call them factories because they're not that far removed from the cars you see driving down the road with the obvious aesthetic differences.
Right.
You can do just a little bit of head work on them, put headers on them, racing tires, and go racing. And they do beat and bang quite a bit. They're pretty evenly matched, but sometimes you have some of the newer drivers with less experience in that class. Same token, you move up to the E-Mod division. Those are modified cars with just a hobby motor in them and limited suspension. It's a way for the guys to break into the wide open modifieds. Hobby stock class. Now that's where you're getting a little more skill. These guys got bigger motors, better equipment, and they sure enough have some intense racing. The wide open modifieds, I call them, they're wide open because the only rule we really have on those is a weight rule and a tire rule. Other than that, whatever you can get crammed in that modified chassis, you can race it, and they're impressive. We had a field. It's not uncommon for us to have 20 modifieds at a time, and that's a lot of racing on that little bitty racetrack. And I don't say little bitty in a negative way. Little is good because that's more action.
Yeah.
You got 20 modified drivers out there that know what they're doing, running together on a quarter-mile track at about 80 miles an hour. It is impressive to see them handle those machines. And then the late models we got coming this weekend, they're a series. They don't run at our track all the time. It's a manufactured car. They look like a car, but they're bigger, wider. They run 800 horsepower, and they only weigh up 2,000 pounds. And so that is very impressive. The last race we had there when the late models were there, Hunter Duran from Yelville led almost the whole thing, and then about the last 3 laps he got into lap traffic, and Chandler Petty, who is a fine driver, took the opportunity and drove past him to the checker.
Well,
that would hurt.
It's impressive racing, And these guys 800 horsepower, and they're running right together,
Yeah. How many horses was that?
800.
800. Ooh, that's a big boy. Big boy. You see
the
that on
car
Sunday.
only weighs 2,000 pounds.
Yeah. You see 800 horses on Sunday.
Yeah.
But, we talked about the Plummerville Super Speedway, obviously a fun atmosphere. I know Mark and I enjoyed hearing about this, but tell us again about the menu. You're going out there with your family. You're going to watch some good racing. But what about when we go to the concession stand? Tell us about what we can expect.
You go to that concession stand. We just Kenny Morgan keeps stepping it up. Last week, and from now on, not just last week, Johnsonville brats.
Uh-oh.
You like bratwurst, baby? We will fix you up. Polish sausages, Mark's wife's favorite fried bologna sandwiches, cheese sticks. We got some new chicken in our chicken baskets, slushies, just all kinds of comfort food. The only comfort food we don't have is cheese dip. But, we do have cheese we'll put on your nachos for you. So you want to come down and just sit
cheese
back.
Dip? Same thing.
Unloose the belt, and just pig out and watch some good dirt track racing. We're the place, man, because we got that comfort food.
Okay, I got a question. I was thinking about this before. I'm not a race fan, but we talked about how it's cool because the novelty of anybody can race. Mm-hmm. But on the flip side, tell us about some guys who've got a lot of experience, because I think that would be more interesting to me to see the guys who have done this for a long time and they're really, really good. I
am glad you brought that up. I was thinking about this earlier. Look, take Marcus Andrews in our factory stock division. Now, Marcus has driven every kind of late car there is. He was recently in late models not so long ago. Mark is probably in his mid-50s. He's a veteran. He's second in our factory points. He hauls 3 cars down there every week, 2 for his son, 1 for him. And it's good to see an older guy be able to still get out there and run with him. Like I said, he's moving up in second in points. If Hunter Page ain't careful, Marcus is going to overtake him. Mm-hmm. Jim Freeman in the open modified. Now, Jim is originally from right up the road at Dover, but he's been living in Morrilton for several years. He's came 4 times this year. 6 times. He's got 4 first places.
Wow.
He can drive that modified. Last week, he had a busy week. He was in Paragould for a race on Thursday, Poplar Bluff, Missouri, on 4th of July, and then raced at our speedway Saturday night and took home the checkered. And not just in modified, Jim's been a street stock champion and champion in other classes over the years. He's probably been driving at least 25 years.
That guy knows what he's doing. I like
he
that.
He does. And his son, Preston Freeman, is third in the hobby stock division. So, it's a racing family. The wives, the kids, the grandkids, they all come. And, and we have that. We have father and son teams sprinkled throughout the fields in our racing, and that's always a good thing,
Well,
we have ladies who race.
Well, yeah. Well, just tell us about that. Forget my next question. Tell us about that.
Factory stock. Rebecca Harris. She just turned 15 years old. This is her second year, and she's out there running against guys like Todd Greer and Marcus Andrews, who've been racing way longer, and she's been alive, and she's doing really good. They got a good setup on that Monte Carlo, and she has learned how to drive it. And like I said, just turned 15 years old.
So yeah, what's the age?
We don't have an age limit. I have seen personally at other tracks, I have seen drivers as young as 11 years old. But you don't have to have a driver's license if you can wheel that race car. I don't. Now I said there's no limit.
I got a 2-month-old
you don't
son.
Have to,
he's eligible.
That's right.
Once he can hold his head up,
our insurance regulations may say something different. There may be an age limit, but there's not an age limit in our rules.
Oh, we want to check on that.
Yeah, Bryce Clark out of Conway, he's 14, little over 14 years old, and wheels a wide open modified.
If I was racing at the same time that kid was, he'd win because I just drive off the road. No, thank you, 14-year-old.
Bryce, he started out in the mini sprints, and worked his way up. Still drives a hobby car sometime, but 14 and a half years old in a wide open modified is pretty impressive.
He started out in the bicycle race. Well, he was there playing in the dirt about 5 years ago.
And I didn't mean to make light of the ladies. Now, we also have Brooke Delaney. She drives in the factory stock division. Debbie Brown comes sometimes. Debbie's a former track champion. So when I say ladies, it's not just in Powder Bud. And if you get there early, Brooke's usually got her pet raccoon on a leash walking around somewhere. So that's a little something different now.
Pet raccoon. Yeah. Man, you got about everything out there.
Oh, yeah, and Brooke's easy on the eyes. I ain't going to lie about it. And the coon's cute, too.
Wow, that's where we went just then.
Yeah, look,
I see. You boys are looking off in the distance. Well, how does that work?
I'm trying to this place. It seems like every time Charlie is on, this place in Plummerville gets more and more interesting.
We just get a wider view of Plummerville.
The only thing we're missing right now is a big sandbox for the kids to play in. I need to get together and get that done.
Well, at this rate, the kids just need some vehicles to drive around and play. They can just drive around like everybody.
And then we've got some 30, 40, 50-year-old men acting like kids sometimes,
Y'all got some fights. Yeah, you said something about some controversy.
We had a little controversy last week. Preston Freeman was leading the hobby stock race, and right on the last lap, coming out of turn 4 to the checkered, something happened. He bobbled a little bit, and Chris Dollarhide was right there and hit him, and then Chris drove right on to the checkered. Now, some people looked at that like Chris door slammed him. Other people looked at it like that's just racing. But it just changed that quick. Within 150 foot of the checkered flag, the lead changed, and somebody else got the win for the night.
Ouch.
And as you can imagine, there was definitely some controversy about that.
Were there some words exchanged in the pits?
Not really, but I don't know. Maybe between the drivers out on the front stretch, they had more of a problem with our flagman. They didn't like the flagman's call, and of course on the message boards, the fans are like, "Oh, this ain't right." That's social media, baby. Ain't no such thing as bad publicity I know of.
Well, tell us about that's the social media message board. That's where all the meat is. Where can people get on that to talk?
You can go to MidSouthRacingForum.com. It covers tracks in about 6 or 7 southern states, and we advertise on there heavily. Also, you can go to Plummerville, spelled with one M now, to our Facebook page, Plummerville Super Speedway on Facebook, and you can get on there and give your opinion or, whatever. You can join our page. And then there's our website, PlummervilleSuperSpeedway.com.
That's where the juice is. Mark knows this. He's a big Hogville guy. The juice is on those messages.
We're on Hogville too.
There you go.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Well,
talk race.
That's social media. Like I said, no such thing as bad publicity.
So what do you have going up this weekend before we get you out of here?
This weekend we got those Southern Outlaw late models and the 600 sprints. There's going to be a good show. We got good shows coming up next 2 weeks. Hope I'll come back next week maybe and talk to you about those. But this weekend, late models. If you've never seen late models, come on out, folks. They are impressive. And those 600 sprints, they're not as big as late models, but they're probably even a little bit faster. They run 600cc motorcycle motors in those little cars. And it is going to be a good Saturday night. Good food, good people. Come early, work on your suntan with me. It's going to be pretty warm.
Nice. How do they get a hold of you? How do they find you?
At PlummervilleSuperspeedway.com, or go to our Facebook page, Plummerville Super Speedway. There's 2 pages. We're the one spelled with just one M.
Okay. All right.
And if you go on our website, PlummervilleSuperspeedway.com, you can find Kenny Morton's number. That's our promoter in case you need to call him for any questions.
All right. Well, that's
good.
Charlie Bowden, Plummerville Super Speedway. We'll share the results every week from their races. Say what?
The big sprints, the 360 wing sprint cars will be here August the 16th. We had to reschedule them because of the Hooker Hood Classic at West Memphis. So August. Yes, that'll be impressive, Maddie. First time they've ever been at the Plummerville Speedway.
All right, we got to get out of here. We got to take a break, but
Thanks
we
for having
appreciate
us,
Charlie
guys.
coming on by. We'll share the results. Get out there to Plummerville Super Speedway and watch some racing.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
KRK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
All right, it's come across the Twitter wire in the last couple minutes that LeBron James has been contacting free agents to ask them to join him if he did leave Miami. One of those free agents was Mike Miller, and they said that he contacted at least two. And the other folks are saying that it might have been a Ray Allen. There would be one other person that I would go after. It wouldn't be Carmelo Anthony either. It'd be Kevin Love. I'd be saying he's not a free agent, so that doesn't count in that conversation. But I would be calling Kevin Love, and if I could get Mike Miller too, I just lights out. Cleveland would be a favorite to win it next year if that's where he ended up. I know we're getting the cart way before the horse, though.
We are. Let me ask, and you may not know, you probably just read that report. Did he say he was calling people only if he's leaving Miami? So
yeah, if he decides to leave.
So he didn't want to call anybody if he's staying in Miami?
I don't know. He may have them, just talk to him about what would happen if he did stay in Miami. But the conversation as far as what this I'll find out who it was that tweeted this. I think it was Adrian Wojnarowski who tweeted that, but let me find out real quick. But he said that LeBron had been contacting free agents about joining him. Let's see, Adrian Wojnarowski. LeBron James reached out to two vet free agents last week about joining him if, in bold letters, if he left Miami, sources tell Yahoo. Mike Miller was one. So we'll see.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is interesting, obviously. And, this is sort of what I was talking about at the top of the show. Like, LeBron has to, and really any of these guys, but more so LeBron, they have to at least start getting some people corralled up, because you can't just sit there and be quiet until you make your decision and let all of these possibly valuable role players splinter off into other teams and sign other deals. So even though you haven't signed anywhere yet, it does not surprise me, and I think it's very necessary for him to start calling and reaching, start corralling up some people, because no matter where you go, if Cleveland, certainly Miami, but even Cleveland too, you got to have a few more things come with you to really be a viable team. So not surprising to hear that he's trying to corral up some supporting cast.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of smart because the teams themselves, there are a lot of rules, a lot of things that they can't do, but they can't govern whether or not players talk to one another.
No, they do that all the time.
So they've done it. They'll continue to do it. And LeBron James is going out and trying to provide himself the best team that he can possibly put together himself, which I think is kind of cool. I wondered today, and I wish some of my friends were listening and watching right now so that they could comment on this, especially the folks who don't like the new NBA. Well, they may like the new NBA, they just don't like LeBron James. What the greats would do. I heard some folks yesterday on TV talk about what the greats would have done. They would have never played together. They wanted to beat one another. Well, at this point, there's not really any choice.
No.
You either get with somebody else who's good, or you just continue to get beat. Michael Jordan, he was getting beat down pretty good. The Celtics, he scored 69 points in that playoff game, or 63 points in that playoff game against the Celtics.
Yeah,
well, they lost, and they got swept. And what good was all that doing? He was just scoring a whole bunch, and everybody was talking about, hey, he's a ball hog. He was never going to get it done. Well, then he gets Scottie Pippen. Yeah, he got him through the draft and a trade, but he had another supporting player. Yeah, no, he didn't have to go in free agency to get him, but he got him. He got a better player to play with him. The second run through, and nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about the second Bulls run through, and Dennis Rodman, one of the best rebounders of all time, a great, great role player for that team, got 15 rebounds a game for the Bulls back then, comes in to play with Michael Jordan. They're all talking about Karl Malone and John Stockton and Gary Payton and these guys. They would never join forces. What happened at the end of Gary Payton's career? When he and Karl Malone and Kobe Bryant and Shaq played together for the Lakers. I think you're conveniently forgetting things, but I wondered what the all-time greats would have done.
Well, I think one thing that's important to remember, and I've said this many times, is it's a completely different era, not only on the court, but off the floor as well. Because, see, a guy like Dennis Rodman, for example, you brought him up. A guy like Dennis Rodman back then there was a lot of media coverage, but not what coverage is now. Everybody's a star nowadays. I don't care if you're the 7th best player in the Milwaukee Bucks. You have your own website. You got your own this and that, even though you average 5 points a game. There were really good players even in the 90s, like Dennis Rodman, who they were sort of thought of as not afterthoughts, but they were just not that popular, not that seen as big stars. Now Dennis Rodman, he can rebound. He's a star. He only averages, 8 points a game, but he can really do this and that. We'd be making a big deal out of Dennis Rodman. You didn't make a big deal out of as many players back then. And so when people look at Rodman and those guys, the Bulls loaded up on Ron Harper, they were just seen as guys. Whereas nowadays, they're like, they got Ron Harper. They got Rodman. The Bulls are loaded. But if it wasn't Pippen or if it wasn't Jordan, it was just everybody else. And that wasn't just the Bulls. That was like every other team. You had the stars, 1 or 2 stars on every team, and everybody else was just kind of a somebody, an afterthought. Nowadays, the 8th best player on any team, like I said, has his own website, has his own brand, has his own star in some kind of way. So I just think it's a reflection of the times that the perception is, because everybody's a big name star, you bring anybody on your team, you went out and got a big name player. Anybody you bring in. Whereas back then it's like, okay, you had 2 stars and a bunch of other people. Even that really wasn't the case. So I just think it's about perception of the times.
Yeah, I think it's honestly, in all this, I'm trying to keep perspective. That's the thing. People are losing perspective, and it's kind of like I watch PTI. I love that show. I love Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon. They both agree Michael Jordan's the best player of all time, but they would not. Tony Kornheiser will not let go of the fact that Wilt Chamberlain is the most underrated player of all time. He's just talking about it all. He grew up watching Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Just like we grew up watching Michael Jordan. And everybody who says that Michael Jordan is the best player of all time and will never be challenged, you're wrong. he'll be challenged. I promise you, he will be challenged for the greatest player of all time. You may not like to hear that because you grew up watching him. You enjoyed his, you remember those moments, how you felt. But at the end of the day, history is a long, I don't know how much longer we're going to be here, but for the foreseeable future, we're going to be watching NBA basketball. The training and conditioning and food, everything's getting better. Nutrition, all this stuff is getting better. Players are getting better.
Right.
There's going to be somebody better than Michael Jordan at some point. So you might as well just back off now of this deification of a guy who, he's great. He's the all-time great, but act like he never did anything wrong and act like he would have never done that. I saw somebody tweet jokingly yesterday that when Germany scored their 7th goal, that Michael Jordan would have scored 8 goals by now. Just joking with him about it. But I'm a Michael Jordan fan as far as a player goes, but people have got to come off his jock, man.
No, look, I understand what you're saying, and you're right factually, but my response would be, that's fine, because here's the deal. Everybody's got to go through it. You think Michael Jordan had to hear about Oscar Robertson and even people age 50 and over. Oscar, how dare you question Oscar? Because Oscar's kind of that guy who, if you're not in the Jordan camp, you're older. Most people go towards him. I mean, Kareem, but he's a big man, different perception.
Magic.
As far as guards. Yeah, I mean, it's like, so, for LeBron, is it wrong and unfair? Sure it is. But I would say LeBron, he needs to just deal with it. Michael dealt with it from the previous generation. All these guys have to just deal with it. Now, I also bring up something else I said, about a month ago or so. It's all about the perception of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was a great player, but Michael Jordan's legend has even surpassed him as a player.
Yep.
And that's where we're at now, because...
And that's not saying he's not great. He
No.
was great.
Then that's saying a lot. I mean, to me, there are players a lot closer to being Jordan as a player than there are people being Jordan's legend. There is nobody right now close to Jordan's legend. You might say...
Even as good as Kobe is, his legend is underrated.
Exactly. Because here's the thing, though, and it's all about perception. When Michael won that championship in 1991... the vision in people's mind was he never let anybody take the league back over till he was ready to hand it back over. Obviously, he didn't play in 1994. You brought up the point 95, and I think people miss it, but I agree with you. He wasn't just coming off the street in 95. He got beat legitimately in 95, even though we don't perceive it that way, because he came in a few games into that season. But either way, Orlando didn't win the finals or anything, and they weren't a significant team much further beyond. So when Michael won in 1991, never lost in the finals, never gave the perception of best player or most dominant franchise, then hand it back over, period, again. Whereas, Kobe, won his with Shaq. Then he lost some. Then he had his baby era where he was scoring 40 a game and getting the 8th seed. LeBron lost in the finals, won a couple. He's lost again. All of these guys are showing vulnerabilities. They're losing in the finals. They're not looking perfect. Whereas Michael took the league over, didn't give it back, and I think that's just so huge in people's mind they can't get over it.
That's where we are with the NBA right now. I'm finding a couple of other topics sort of humorous. Gordon Hayward agrees to a contract. Now, they can't sign until tomorrow. The moratorium ends at midnight tonight, a.k.a. Thursday, and he can sign a 4-year, $63 million extension. Gordon Hayward, 4 years, $63 million. Just let that sink in. I tweeted the other day that I live in a world.
Yeah.
I'm excited to live in a world where Avery Bradley can make $32 million over 4 years. And who was the other dude that made the Channing Frye can make $32 million over 4 years. $8 million a year. Anything is possible, Kevin Garnett style. If those dudes can make that kind of money. And now LaMarcus Aldridge is eyeing a max deal. He said he won't sign the offer that the Portland Trailblazers are offering him this year. He wants to go for that max next year, wants to stay with Portland and build there. They've got a promising inner core there. Also, Pau Gasol, he met with Scotty Brooks yesterday from Oklahoma City. It's probably a long shot because they can't offer him a whole lot of money, but it'd be nice to see. As far as a fit goes, Oklahoma City may be the best when you can team him up with Serge Ibaka inside and Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook outside. Would be a pretty,
they already have a center, Mark.
Yeah, I heard Avery Johnson say last night on national TV. I'm not even joking. He said Oklahoma City, it would love to do this so that they could get Kendrick Perkins off the floor. They said Oklahoma City's got to do something to get Kendrick Perkins off the floor.
Yeah, look, Gasol would be nice for them because Durant, he's similar to LeBron in this way. I mean, really one of the worst case because Kevin Durant can't do anything as a power forward. I mean, at least LeBron can bang with somebody even though it wears his body out. But the problem for Oklahoma City was when he had to put Ibaka and Perkins out there, and then Kevin Durant. Yeah, Kevin Durant could shoot, but they would much rather put another shooter on the floor, play KD at the 4, and then put somebody Ibaka at the 5. But they just can't do that. They're not strong enough. So I think Gasol, a guy who can shoot the ball some, I think would help them. But they won't have enough money to pay him, and it's tough. So we'll see what happens. Will he look at Chicago? Will he look at going back to the Lakers? Gasol's an interesting piece too. We haven't talked about him as much, but he could be an interesting domino.
A couple other things that I thought was funny from just a PR standpoint. We heard about Derrick Rose and how he worked out for Carmelo Anthony. You remember talking about that? The reports were that he said he wasn't going to be a part. It's not his job. And then the reports surfaced that Derrick Rose was working out for Carmelo Anthony to see. Now, it turns out Derrick Rose was just working out.
Yeah.
And Carmelo Anthony happened to show up. He had no idea when he was coming or why, what he was, that he was out there watching him. He stopped and shook his hand and said hello, and they exchanged their pleasantries, but Derrick Rose had no idea.
Yeah, this story has been kind of reported weirdly. And the latest I have, and I'm not even saying it's right, but it's just the latest I've heard, so take it how you will, was, as you said, he was working out, just happened to be working out when Carmelo was on his visit. And the whole thing about him participating in pitches and not is that he doesn't want to feel like he's stepping on management's toes, but if they were to ask him, he would be happy to do it, but only if they ask him. So, Derrick Rose is you could look at it as though he's a punk kind of dude. He's just an unusual guy. He's not a leader. I'm just going to say Derrick Rose is a talented athlete, good basketball player, not a leader, not somebody's going to galvanize people. I heard Colin Cowherd say this. Derrick Rose is probably more talented than Chris Paul, but, Chris Paul, you have to have him run your team. You can't have Derrick Rose be a guy running your team. Even though he's a point guard, he's extremely talented. He's just not going to rally guys together. He just wants to show up, play basketball, and do his thing. He's not into this, come on, play, let's do this, let's do that. He's not wired that way. It's an unfortunate downfall considering his ability, but I think that's part of the package.
I think I'd have to change the wording of what Colin Cowherd said to agree with it. I know where he's going, but I would have to say Derrick Rose is not a better basketball player than Chris Paul. I would have to say he's more physically gifted because he can jump higher, run faster. I don't even think he's more talented. I just think he's more physically gifted because Chris Paul can shoot better. He's a smarter defender. He doesn't have the rangy athleticism and those types of things. He ain't dunking on anybody.
True, yeah.
But I would rather have Chris Paul on my team. So, more gifted physically.
I agree with that.
I would go with that. So, finally, in the NBA, Donald Sterling, we've given it a little bit of a break, but Donald Sterling, he's on trial now. I guess they're going through this with he and Shelley Sterling, and Donald Sterling is a lawyer, so he's on the stand and he's being asked these questions and he's turning these questions around back on the. And apparently, I was following Ramona Shelburne on ESPN or from ESPN on Twitter, and she was tweeting out comments that he was making. He was being an arrogant jerk. I can't recall what I said there. I didn't say that. My attorney said that. Well, they said it on your behalf. Well, they said it. I didn't say it. So if you don't, he's trying to be a jerk, and I really, 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 really hope that the judge sees through that kind of stuff and that they get rid of Donald Sterling. He said that he believes the team, he was going to get a $5 billion TV deal, or that his team was going to be worth up to $5 billion based on the new TV deal that he was going to get, that he was working on with Fox and some local TV and radio stations there in LA.
So he's saying they undercut the sales.
Basically, yeah, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, really. I mean, their hot streak and them being a pretty decent team the last 3 years is the only reason they got up that high. Give the CBA credit too. I think they're maxed out. They're not getting a 5. You look at the new CBA, which is very owner friendly. The new TV deal. I think a TV deal was factored into the deal already. So he's wrong. Donald Sterling, like I said, he's funny in some ways, and I feel bad for him in other ways because he is how he is. But it seems like every time he's on TV or something, it's funny. Like the first day, he didn't even show up, right? Like he's supposed to show up the first day of court, and he wasn't there, and they had to summon him and threaten if he didn't show up the next day. I mean, it's a funny deal to me. Donald Sterling's a funny guy.
Yeah, he's a funny guy, and not that way that you're thinking. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, little hog talk. I saw a funny tweet the other day. Does your team have a center? He's probably going to be named to the Remington Award watch list. Lots of people being named to award watch lists. Arkansas got at least one more. Probably going to have some more folks listed. No, they're going to have some more folks. The running backs, I think Collins and Williams will be on some more running back lists like the Dope Walker and those types of things. But we'll have some more information for you on that. And a Twitter record that was broken yesterday. We'll talk about that right after the break.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
KRK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Just found out during the break that Andrew Wiggins cost himself a bunch of money. How, you may ask? He made signed a contract with Adidas. It's going to pay him about $2 million a year, and there's a chance that LeBron James is going to come to Cleveland, where he plays and represents Nike. Think about the money that would be on the table there for just combination marketing with him and LeBron James.
Yeah.
$2 million a year is something he would scoff at. So, maybe his representation is not all that smart. Maybe he just saw $2 million and said, deal. But you said something about how he could have got $19 million a year last year.
Yeah, I'm looking.
He come out of high school.
Yeah, they were going to pay him a lot more. I'm checking these numbers now because that does sound low. So I'm making sure, because I'm now seeing a report that says he signed a 10 to 12. I don't know how many years that's over, but still, I mean, those are lower numbers. Even if it's 10 to 12. Obviously they were going to offer
a guarantee of at least $2 million annually.
That's what you're seeing. So, yeah, I guess that 10 to 12 was over a period of years, but that sounded weird to me when I first read it. I just wanted to go ahead and check it before we confirmed it here on the air. But, yeah, I mean, Darren Ravel, I also saw he put that shoe deals aren't what they used to be. I guess that's part of it. I didn't expect a 90 mil LeBron Nike, but 2? I mean, this guy, a lot of hype, a lot of plot put behind him. I would like to see some sort of escalator opportunity or incentive opportunity, for earnings or whatever. But $2 million, nice deal for Adidas. Adidas also getting the deal with Manchester United, Mark. We got to get our soccer fix in there too. Nike will not match that $100 million bid. So just one team. That tells you about the money in soccer. I mean, it may not be our favorite sport, but this is money in that sport.
It's the world's favorite sport. We'll talk about it in a second.
I saw Manchester United's deal is worth 3 times as much. It's one team 3 times as much as the NBA's Adidas deal. The whole NBA
deal. Yeah.
That's a lot of money being thrown around.
It's going back to Andrew Wiggins. It's his personality, man. He doesn't quite have that outgoing, LeBron James magnetic personality that's going to get him the money.
Right.
One thing though, the reason that I wouldn't have chosen Adidas, they've got 3% of the market share in athletic shoes, in basketball shoes in the market. Guess how much Nike has? 95. Jordan Brand 58%, Nike itself 37%. That's ridiculous. Adidas is playing way over their heads. They may be. I mean, it's a good deal for Adidas to be able to get a guy like Andrew Wiggins, who may be a great player at one point.
Yeah.
But if I were him, I'd have waited on a Nike deal. There's no way that he couldn't have gone to Nike and said, "Give me 3."
Yeah,
and they wouldn't have said, "Yeah."
I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I can't picture Nike saying, "Oh, no, I'm sorry, that is way too much for our budget." No. I mean, again, this guy a year ago, they were talking about he should try to go to the D League and circumvent college because he could be a $19 million shoe type player, and I mean he didn't just kill it at Kansas, but he was still really good there. So that's a little bit of a head scratcher.
Wow. All right. Yesterday, a Twitter record was broken during the Germany-Brazil game with good reason. Germany scored 5 goals in the first 29 minutes of that game. They scored 3 goals in 3 minutes at one point. It was unreal. When I was watching it, I kept seeing goals go in, and I thought it was a replay. No, it was another one. And then they set the ball down, they take it from them, they go down and score again, and it's just like, what in the world is happening? 35.6 million tweets during the Brazil and Germany game. I saw a little map, and it started out, it shows a flat map of the world with yellow where people are tweeting, and the more people tweet, the darker it gets toward red. And it goes, yellow at the very beginning of the game, first Germany goal, a little bit of orange, and then by the 5th German goal, the whole map almost. There are little pockets here and there where there's no Twitter or there's no internet access and that type of thing, but everything else is just like red. Everybody in the world who was tweeting is tweeting about this game, and just a crazy turn of events there in that semifinal game.
Oh, it really was. I didn't have a chance to watch the game. I was out taking care of some business, but I would see the Sports Center updates on my phone, and of course Twitter was blowing up, and you really don't see that in soccer, and obviously the goals were coming quick too. If they would come that quick consistently, they may get more American support. People may be more interesting if you put up 7 goals from one team, 8 games total. Again, I have to lean to the soccer people on this, but from what I understand, Brazil, they were kind of that team just hanging on. They're one of the top teams in the world, but they weren't playing like it. They didn't look like it from the consistent of the tournament. You look at the opening match game with Croatia and group play, people were like, they got to get it together, and they kind of made it through, but they never really got it together. Then, of course, Neymar, the defender, out with his suspension, and it just became a bad deal. And then Germany, they were precise. Slitzenheimer and all them were just in and out, and Seaborg.
Is that a real name? Okay, I didn't know.
No.
I didn't know.
You give Mueller credit. He's been lighting it up as far as his goals. That is a real player. So in Germany, has to be the favorite right now. I picked Argentina. They're going to play against the Netherlands today. I don't have a whole lot of confidence because, I don't think Argentina's that good. I just went with the best player on the planet. I think they do good to be here. The Netherlands, watched them a little bit against Costa Rica. If they face off against Germany, that should be the final right there. So I don't see Argentina getting by today. If they do, it'll be fun for us because somehow our picks made it. With me, I'd be really proud because I don't even know where Argentina is ranked in the world, but I don't think they're as high as Brazil and Germany and all these people. But hey, if our teams met off in the World Cup final, I'd be ecstatic.
We'd be able to sit here next Monday or whenever after the final is and just say, look. We know.
We told you.
We told you how this was going to go.
Some of you took Brazil. Some of you took Spain, the reigning champion.
You clowns took Portugal.
Yeah, Portugal. They didn't even make it out of the group stage. And we told you, Germany and Argentina.
Just saying. Bachelor's GED. That's what we do. Let's move to Hog Talk for just a moment. Congratulations to Hunter Henry being named to the Mackey Award watch list. Also, found here that Razorback Nation, our content partner, tweeted, Facebook, they posted that Cox has joined to carry the SEC network. So now Cox, AT&T, Dish, and Google Fiber are the current subscribers for the SEC network, which launches August 14th. I've got DirecTV. I've already told you I'd like to have the SEC network. I'd like for it to be a part of the package that I already have. I'm not going to pay more, unless it's like $5. If it's more than $5, no thank you.
Yeah.
I won't buy it. I'll go to Buffalo Wild Wings when the Hogs are playing on that channel. Yeah. Otherwise, I'll just watch something else.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anything is going to get done. I mean,
I think it will, but
there's talk about AT&T, but that's a long way down the road. The acquisition, I don't think the acquisition would help anything for 2014. Like if something were to get done, it would still have to be an independent DirecTV deal. And I don't know if they're getting close. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But I would just say this: get your alternative options ready. Have their alternative options ready because there's a chance that your television may not be carrying the Hogs in Auburn. So, again, I'm just saying, do whatever it is you need to do to get your alternative television options ready to go.
Nice. All right. And let's see. I think that's all. You wanted to talk about Media Day for just a minute because it's coming up.
Well, yeah, it's coming up, and we have more time later on to get into this. I just think it'll be interesting to see who they send. There's a lot of talk, should they send Brandon Allen or not? I get both sides. To me, if I've named him my quarterback, which they have done, they've unapologetically said it's not going to be a battle, not a competition. He's our guy. If you fully believe he's your guy, I say you put him out there. You let him take the tough questions. You let him absorb it. He's going to have to answer them at some point anyway. He's going to have to answer tough questions. Can you get it done? I say get all that stuff out of the way. Show confidence. Say, yeah, this is our quarterback, captain of our team. Here he is right here, but we don't know with what they're going to do. I get the feeling they're not going to send him, but just, what I do.
We'll see how it turns out. The SEC Media Days is always just an opportunity for Steve Spurrier to say something stupid, or Les Miles to say something for us to make fun of him about, or Brett Bielema to sort of start a fight with somebody. So we'll see how that turns out and what actually happens at SEC Media Days. But
can't spell citrus without the UT.
Well, that was so great, man. He's just constantly picking at Tennessee back in the day, which he could really pick at most people nowadays. He's done pretty well for himself there at South Carolina. All right, we've run out of time. Chris Broussard tweets, in addition to Pat Riley, it's believed Miami's Eric Spoelstra, Mickey Arison, and Dwayne Wade will attend today's meeting with LeBron James. So we'll probably have some news in the next day or two about LeBron James' decision. When he decides, Carmelo Anthony decides, Chris Bosh decides, everything's going to go really quickly from there.
Go call Jim Gray. Get a Boys and Girls Club reserve. Get Jim Gray to interview. It's getting close.
That's not going to happen again. Not at all. He'll announce on social media.
Yeah,
Samsung.
Yeah.
He'll have some sort of Samsung commercial done immediately on Twitter or something. That's how he'll end up doing it. But we'll see. I'm starting to lean LeBron to Cleveland. Not what I want, but what it looks like. Man, they're just doing some real cap-saving stuff to try to get LeBron in. We'll see if he can choose for himself to stay in Miami and what they can do there. If not, LeBron may be headed back to Cleveland. We'll talk about it on Friday. For Weldon, Maddie, I'm Mark, saying so long. We'll see you again at 11 o'clock on Friday at rivervalleyleader.com.